Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 210. I'm going to start sharing my screen and then we'll get started. Jessica, can you confirm that this looks okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. This is the start of session 210, and our presentation title is Data Science for All, Creating a Thriving Community for Interdisciplinary Students via Industry Experiential Learning Projects. My name is Margaret Betts, and I'm joined with my colleague Jessica Gerlach today, and we'll be going through our program called the Data Mine. Like I said, my name is Margaret. I also go by Maggie, and I've been with the Data Mine for about 6 years now. The program launched in about 2018 after a NSF grant was winding down, and more than 6 years later, we have over 2,000 students on our program, and it's expanded beyond Purdue University. So we're excited to share more about that. And I'll also let my colleague Jessica introduce herself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jessica Gerlach. I've been with the Data Mine for about a year and a half and am really heading up in the West Lafayette, Purdue University area.
Excellent. We'll go ahead and get started. And we're also open to questions throughout. And at the end, we'll make sure to leave at least 5 minutes or more for questions. And so if you want to put them in the chat as they come to mind, we'll either answer them now or at the end. So I want to do a quick audience poll. I don't think a poll is possible, but if you can put in the chat, I always like to understand who is the primary audience of our talks. If you're a student, if you work in academia, do you work in industry, or do you work in government? So we'll take 15 seconds. If you can just put which industry you're from, we'd love to hear from you. Awesome. I'm seeing lots of academia come through. All academia so far. Awesome. That helps me tailor the conversation a little bit too. All right, so I'm going to start with this video. We'll see if the sound works. If not, the reason I like this video, it was just produced by Purdue's marketing team less than 2 months ago. And in 2.5 minutes, I think it does a really nice job explaining the introduction to our program with visuals and interviews a little better than I could in 2.5 minutes. So let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, I'll give it my own attempt. All right, let me try sharing YouTube page. Awesome. The Data Mine is can you hear that? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Experiential living learning community focused on bringing data science literacy to students of all majors at Purdue University. Students work on projects directly proposed by industry partners here in Indianapolis, and they're mentored by those industry partners every single week as part of their class.
The Data Mine is kind of like an interdisciplinary living and learning community where students are able to work with an external company on a project throughout the duration of an entire year. And every STEM major has to do with data science, so being able to physically work with it in a project just prepares them throughout the major.
The relationship between the companies and students is really unique because it's almost like an 8th-month interview. Every company is dealing with large amounts of data, and our Purdue students step in and kind of give a fresh experience to those employees. So whether they're working with large language models or artificial intelligence, they're getting into these new and exciting realms of data science.
One thing that's very special about the Data Mine, especially in Indianapolis, is a very close proximity to the tech corridor. They have very close connections as a university to businesses and industry leaders that Purdue students can take advantage of being in Indianapolis. My team and I are working with V2X to develop a large language model maintenance troubleshooter.
Here in West Lafayette, really throughout the whole state, students are contributing and providing value, getting internships and full-time jobs, and solving complex data-driven projects with industry partners. The growth is so explosive that there's a new building across the street so that we can have 900 more students working in Data Mine.
I am a team lead for the Delta Faucet Company. We are looking at their warranty cost data, and then we're translating that to business costs to help them predict their warranty cost over time based on past data.
Data science at Elevance Health is integral to all components of what we do. We generate massive amounts of data in healthcare, as you might imagine. You have to occasionally step back from it and get a fresh perspective. The data mine students that we're working with right now really help us do that. Students working in the data mine are giving themselves an experience, a leg up on other competitive forces within the industry.
Awesome. Well, that was a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll go into some more details now. So the three words that really describe the data mine that I want you to walk away remembering are experiential, living, and learning community. And so we'll dive into what those three words mean for the data mine. So the living component really comes from the fact that many of our students are living together in a residence hall. In West Lafayette, that's Hillenbrand Hall, which also is getting an expansion that will end up being just as large for another 900 beds opening next fall that we're very excited about. And down in Indianapolis, students also live together. And so what this does is it enables the students to have close relationships with their peers that are in their classmates. Faculty and staff can do their office hours there, as well as we get to have meals with students and really just share a relationship with them outside of the classroom. And then in our learning component, all of our students take a 1 credit hour seminar class, and we've actually got 8 levels of this that students could start their freshman year and take it every year till they graduate, with the components building on themselves. The first level assumes no prior computational experience or data science experience, but it introduces students to working with large data sets on a high performance compute cluster. We use an NSF cluster called Anvil, which really helps level set for all students to have an equal computing environment and also get to be experienced with using HPCs. And they have 1 project a week with 5 questions and a large data set. So if you want to go and learn more about this, you can scan the QR code, and I've also posted the slides on Sketch, so you should be able to download those. The students have their office hours in Hillenbrand Hall. This picture here is actually in the dining hall, court of the res hall. So really it's a very immersive experience where we're capturing their living environment and their classes all together and building a relationship with them.
In terms of the experiential part of the program, obviously this is one of the main parts that we really focus in on. We try to keep the students involved in agile methodology. So really dividing up the industry mentor who's coming from the company that is choosing to run a project with the students, being that product owner, and then we hire a TA to be a teaching assistant and really be the project lead, to be that scrum master. And then the hands-on development work is being done by students who are getting 3 credit hours for their year-long work. So in terms of the product owner, it's really, that's who we're speaking with to provide the students with the project and dive into what the scope of that project looks like. It is somebody from industry that is able to really be there weekly to experience this project with the students and see how everything's going. The Scrum Master, being the TA, really leads the team. Again, really focusing in on the agile methodologies. We ideally have the teaching assistant positions for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. The goal is to be a student on a project and then move up into that TA role. This is where we really see a lot of companies make relationships and bring in students into an internship or full-time position, now knowing how they work and if they work well together. In terms of the student teams, we do have undergrad and graduate students. Along with this, we do ask the students to rate their confidence levels 3 times per year. So at the very beginning, at semester end in December, and then again at the end of April. What we see a lot in these skills based off of the past few years is that there's a lot more skills being accomplished in the project management and time management side, which really shows that we really allow the students to focus in on more of those soft skills and the non-technical skills, as well as the computing and data visualization skills. We run projects with all types of companies. We focus in on any industry in the area that has ties to Purdue or just wants to work with students and data in general. Now we see more and more companies that are really wanting to figure out what they want to do with the data, and working with students is a really great way to do that. We have companies from all across the country, including, you can see your Cummins, Evonik. There are companies in the ag space to sports and all around. So we're really allowing the students to work with the industry that they're hoping to go into in the future. The benefits to the students is pretty clear in our program. We've been consistently growing. The early career experience is something that we really focus in on. You see now that internships are being brought in at the very beginning of fall. A lot of times capstones are too late in their experience to learn if they like the field. We really want to expose the students to those different industries. So for instance, a data scientist might not come in and expect to work with a John Deere type of company. They're able to see how those other industries can really utilize data as well. It also provides a really collaborative experience. Like we said, a lot of them are living close together and in the same realm, but they also have a very wide interdisciplinary team. We have around 160 majors in our program, being under the Office of the Provost. So you're able to really figure out how to work on a wide variety team. And then you can also develop business acumen. So students are really able to see what it's like to work with a company and be involved with a company with that experience. In terms of the benefits to the industry partners that we're working with, they're really able to create this talent pipeline of students where they're able to figure out who's working well with them and how they work well together. It allows for a lot more immersive learning on how the students are handling their problems and fitting into their culture. Companies build a lot of name recognition with our program because, again, the students are gaining access into these industries and companies that they may not have otherwise thought to look into. And they also are able to test proof of concept projects. So a big thing of what we're seeing now is that a lot of our students are able to come up with a lot of innovative ideas and solutions that companies may be needing to get out of their old ways. They're able to test those proof of concept projects before really diving into it as a full company. And then, of course, completing value add projects. So there are a lot of companies that have a list of projects that they would love to get accomplished, but there are a lot that can't quite make that priority list. The students are really able to excel in these projects because they're a little bit lower priority, and the students can come in and tackle those for them. This slide's just really about the impact that we've seen. So I can let you guys take a minute to just briefly read through those. Again, just really showing the impact of the program in general.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to share a little bit more about our expansion beyond Purdue West Lafayette. So, like I mentioned, the data mine started in 2018 as a National Science Foundation grant called the Statistics Living Learning Grant. Community was ramping down, but then we also were awarded a few years later another NSF grant to support the expansion of the data mine to various minority serving institutions. And since then, that grant just wrapped up. We served over 300 students at schools that may or may not have had data science programs to bring students in and get them industry experience directly with our partners. And then we also have a grant that is expanding the data mine across Indiana through the Lilly Endowment. Apologies. And so you can see on the right that Purdue is located up here in this top kind of mid left corner in Tippecanoe County. That's where West Lafayette is headquartered. And then Purdue and Indianapolis has expanded as of, sorry, I don't know why it's jumping ahead, to Indianapolis. Here's in the central part of our state, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And then we also have locations in Fort Wayne, up in the region by Chicago, and then various hubs throughout. And then in terms of Indianapolis, we launched last year and had about 150 students, and this has been really neat to see the growth, because in Indianapolis we have a lot of businesses headquartered or in close proximity to us, and so it's made partnering a lot easier because many of our partners are coming on site to engage with the students on a weekly basis, which is certainly not the expectation, but it's certainly enhanced the engagement. As well as we've been able to take students on site to various companies more regularly and frequently. And so you can see on the right, we've got some pictures. Corteva Agriscience is just a short drive from campus. Delta Faucet is headquartered in Carmel, Indiana. Cummins has locations in downtown Indy and Columbus, Indiana. Elevance Health is a walk from campus. We took students to a farm for Indiana Soybean Alliance. So overall, there's a lot of opportunity to partner with these companies and help students consider keeping their careers in Indianapolis post-graduation. I just want to share a few resources that you might want to look at after this talk. All of our projects conclude with a poster. Most of our projects are bound by an NDA and sometimes an IP assignment or license, but we do want to make sure that the students get to walk away with one public-facing artifact. That's really important to them to be able to talk about in interviews and their resume and grad applications. And so the team together works on a poster, and then we work with the legal departments of all these companies to get them approved. And we showcase this in the April of every year at what we call our symposium. And that happens in person, where all of these are on display at once. And it's really neat to see the culmination of 9 months of work from hundreds of students come together. Those posters are all available on our website at that URL, or you can scan there. If you want to take a look at some of the specific like case studies, we've got them, like Jessica said, from various domains and all kinds of types of projects. And then we also wanted to share, this is our roadmap to partnership that we developed to engage with industry partners. Over the last 6 years, we've engaged with a couple hundred different industry partners. And so in order to do that with a team size of about 20 some people, we've had to make it very repeatable and easy to engage with us. And so we developed this website that kind of goes through the checklist of what partners need to bring to be ready to engage. And so it walks through the project description requirements, the project charter, the sponsor acknowledgement, which is like our legal aspect, and all of the details. So if you're interested in how we're doing this at scale, definitely check out this website, because it will kind of standardize the process and how we're engaging with our companies. And then I'll also point out, since so many of you are from academia on our website, we also have some workshops we ran about a year or two ago. So they're a little bit older, but from the perspective of an academic partner, if you wanted to launch your own data mine, like what that would look like. And so I can put those in the chat, or you can send me an email, but we'll open it up to questions. We're very interested in expanding this model. We want students of all majors and experience levels to be graduating to be data literate. And so we're just really set on this mission of expanding data science training to students of all levels and really bringing in industry to do it alongside of us. So thank you for your attention today, and we look forward to some questions. Okay, I know the chat, I think, is only available, so maybe people are typing. While folks are doing that, I will also put some links in the chat. Bonita is asking, how does this apply to government, specifically national statistical offices? Bonita, we have partnered with various, particularly more at the state level, partners. We've partnered with our Family and Social Services Administration, as well as a few other Indiana local governments to work on projects that were data driven, and get students interested in realizing that data scientists and statisticians are needed within government, and some of the types of programs and problems they're trying to solve. So those have certainly been our clients. And then funding wise, we certainly have been thankful for different funding sources from the government's office. I'll put in the chat. Here's our symposium page. This is where I'll share my screen as well for that. You can go through, see our partners from last year and beyond. You can click on them and you can see the poster and the video from the year past. So if you want to go through and see any specific examples, again, what's on the poster is only what's approved by the company's legal department. So sometimes the research is much more in depth, or some numbers had to be obscured to be publicly available.
Melody asked, do you find that year-long projects are doable? Would you consider a different time frame, longer or shorter projects? Melody, I will say that we don't often do spring or fall only projects, but there are certain times that we find that companies will choose to do just a semester long project. With it being experiential learning, we really try to do that year-long project because it gives the students plenty of time to do research. And again, we're involving students from all different majors and types. So there are some students that may be needing to do a lot more research in the beginning to figure out what they're getting into.
We found the academic year is a really ideal timeline because it bridges that gap between the summer. And so for some of our partners, they actually treat the data mine to be part of this like continuous model of engaging with students. Most companies are very familiar with summer internships and how to engage and, hire students during that summer. But 10 to 12 weeks in the summer goes so fast. By the time the student is onboarded and really brought into the company, it's like the summer is almost over, and they've put so many resources into training that student and mentoring them, and then they go back to school. And so the data mine can kind of fill that gap where ideally they can take an intern that has been working during the summer, and then that intern can be the TA for the project, so they can really amplify that experience they've had at the industry partner during the academic year, because now they're leading a project. So maybe the company can scope out something that's more ambitious that doesn't have to end at the end of the 10 to 12 weeks. And then likewise, when they're recruiting for next summer, they've worked with a team of 10 or so students, and they already maybe know 1 or 2 students they want to hire for the next summer, and they don't have to recruit as broadly, as well as they don't have to onboard and train them so heavily the next summer because they've been engaging with the company during the summer. So it really can create this very cyclical nature of engagement for the students and companies. Bonina, there are both in-person and online programs. So currently a majority of our students do come from Purdue West Lafayette or Purdue Indianapolis, where we do have residence halls where they live together, and we have staff stationed in person and such. But we also have students, like I mentioned, with our NSF grant that's serving minority serving institutions, where 300 students participated fully remote. And so they were working on a team where they met with their company and as a student lab team twice a week, fully virtually, for that entire academic year. And they were able to come, many of them, together for that poster session in person, but we have seen this model work in an online modality as well. I will put my email in the chat, as well as our link to the partnership page, where I laid out kind of our repeatable process for how we are engaging with industry partners. Another thing I didn't mention is that our industry partners are paying for this partnership. It's previously been $20,000, and then this year it's increasing to $30,000. And that allows our team to be fully funded through this. And so Purdue University doesn't fund the data mine. We're soft funded through our industry partnerships and grants. So this is also a very sustainable model at various academia institutions. As you build more partnerships, you can scale that up to a larger team as well. Sometimes, and then that funding, when you think about what they're paying a summer internship, it's very reasonable for a company to partner with us for that.
And alongside of that, our team does include, each project has an account manager, a project manager, and a data science member that is in charge of their projects and making sure that everything's good to go and there's no roadblocks.
I want to be mindful of time. It was great presenting and sharing some more about the data mine. Again, my email is in the chat. It's just my last name, betts@purdue.edu. I'd love to hear from you. I'll also be at Women in Statistics and Data Science in Cincinnati next month. So if you're going to be there, would love to connect and share more. So thank you.
Thank you.